"I'm too old for you, human, but my daughter awaits you," the alien queen whispered. Ethan Cole had lived long enough to know that the galaxy did not care about age, hope, or promises. Space only cared about whether you could survive the next minute. His hands were steady on the controls as the small exploration ship shook around him, alarms flashing in dull red light. The hull had been torn open by something massive that had risen from the violet clouds of the planet below. Sensors were dead. Engines were failing. There would be no rescue signal this time. Ethan did not panic. Panic was for people who still believed the universe was fair. He guided the ship down with what little power remained, aiming for a stretch of glowing land between jagged crystal towers. The surface of the planet Sereth looked unreal, like a dream painted by someone who had never seen Earth. The ground shimmered. The sky bent light in strange ways. Gravity pulled just a little heavier than normal, enough to remind visitors that this world was not made for them. The ship hit hard. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. Ethan was thrown forward, then blackness swallowed everything. When he woke, the world smelled sharp and clean, like stone after rain. Pain ran through his body, but it was distant, controlled. He lay still for several breaths, listening. There were no alarms now, no engines, only a low hum like the planet itself was breathing. Ethan opened his eyes. Above him, the sky glowed in slow-moving waves of purple and silver. Tall crystal shapes rose in the distance, catching the light and bending it into soft colors. The air was thin but breathable. He coughed once, then slowly pushed himself upright. He was alone. Ethan checked his body the way he had been trained decades ago. One cracked rib. Deep bruises, a bleeding cut on his forehead, nothing fatal yet. His survival suit had taken most of the damage. The ship behind him was ruined beyond repair, its frame twisted and burned. He let out a slow breath. So this was how it ended. Not in a quiet bed, not back on Earth, but on a forgotten alien world far from any human map. Ethan smiled faintly. He had always known he would die somewhere strange. He stood and took stock of what he had. A small survival pack, a basic tool knife. A translator implant that might still work, limited food and water, no weapon other than his knife and his mind. Most explorers half his age would have sat down and waited to die. Ethan started walking. The ground felt warm under his boots, almost alive. As he moved, he noticed shapes in the distance shifting. Tall figures with long limbs and smooth armor-like skin watched him from far away, then disappeared behind crystal ridges. He did not raise his knife. He kept his hands visible and his pace slow. Fear was useful, but showing it was not. After hours of walking, hunger and thirst began to bite. Ethan found shelter beneath a crystal overhang that hummed softly when the wind passed through it. He drank carefully, ate little, and rested. That night the planet came alive. Lights moved across the land like schools of fish. Strange calls echoed in the distance, some deep and heavy, others sharp and curious. Ethan did not sleep much. He watched. He listened. He learned the rhythm of Sereth. On the second day he found signs of others. Smooth paths cut into the ground. Markings carved into crystal walls. Not human but deliberate. Intelligent. This world was not empty. Ethan followed the paths openly. Near midday, he saw them clearly for the first time. 3 figures stood ahead, tall and elegant, their skin reflecting light like polished stone. Their eyes were wide and dark, filled with careful interest. They wore no weapons that he could see, but their posture was alert. Ethan stopped a short distance away. Slowly he raised his hand in greeting. The translator implant clicked softly in his skull as it tried to adjust. One of the aliens stepped forward. Its voice was calm, layered, almost musical. "Human," it said. "You should not be here." Ethan nodded. "That's true." The alien seemed surprised by the simple answer. "Your kind does not survive on Sereth," another said. "This world breaks intruders." Ethan shrugged. "Maybe, but I'm still standing." They studied him closely. his gray hair, the lines on his face. The way he leaned slightly to one side because of the cracked rib. "You are old," the first one said. Ethan smiled. "Yes." There was a pause. The aliens exchanged quiet looks. "Why do you walk instead of hiding?" one asked. "Why do you not beg?" Ethan thought for a moment. "Because hiding only delays fear, and begging gives it power." The words were simple, but they landed heavily. After a long silence, the first alien spoke again. "Come, others must see you." They did not bind him. They did not threaten him. They simply turned and began to walk, trusting him to follow. Ethan did. They led him toward the heart of the crystal fields, where the land dipped downward into a vast opening in the ground. Light poured out of it, pulsing slowly. Ethan felt something ancient there, something aware. "What is that place?" he asked. "The Trial Hollow," one alien replied. "Your people would call it a dungeon." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Sounds friendly." The alien did not understand the tone, but continued. "It judges worth. Many enter, few return unchanged." Ethan looked into the glowing depths. "Do I have a choice?" he asked. The alien met his gaze. "You always have a choice. This world will simply answer it." Ethan laughed softly. The sound echoed strangely against the crystal walls. "Then let's see what it has to say." As they reached the edge, more aliens gathered. Whispers spread through the crowd. Some looked afraid, others curious. A few looked angry. "He is weak," one hissed. "Old and broken." "He is human," another replied. "They endure." Ethan ignored them. He knelt at the edge of the opening and placed his hand on the warm crystal ground. It pulsed beneath his palm. "Hello," he said quietly. "I didn't come to take anything." The ground hummed louder. The aliens froze. No one spoke to the Trial Hollow. No one had ever spoken to it like that. Light surged upward, wrapping around Ethan's hand, then his arm. Instead of pulling him down, it held him gently, like a careful grip. Ethan felt memories brush against his thoughts, not his own. The dungeon, centuries of battles, deaths, tests, and disappointment. It was tired, lonely. "You've been busy," Ethan murmured. "No wonder you're angry." The light softened. The watching alien stepped back in shock. The Trial Hollow opened wider, not as a trap, but as an invitation. "It accepts him," someone whispered. "Why?" Ethan stood, heart pounding but calm. "Guess it just wanted someone to listen," he said. He stepped forward and descended into the glowing depths, not as a challenger but as a guest. Above him, unseen by Ethan, eyes watched from the highest spire of the distant citadel, ancient eyes filled with curiosity and quiet concern. The alien queen had noticed the human who did not kneel, did not fight, and did not fear age. And for the first time in many cycles, she wondered what kind of future such a creature might change. Ethan Cole moved slowly down the glowing steps of the Trial Hollow, his eyes adjusting to the strange light. The walls around him pulsed gently, like the heartbeat of a living creature. Every step made a soft hum echo through the vast space. It smelled faintly of stone and ozone, a sharp scent that reminded him of lightning storms back on Earth. He breathed carefully, letting his senses take in everything. There was danger here, but also a strange calm. The hollow was not only a test of strength, it was a test of mind and spirit. As he walked, he noticed shapes moving in the light. Figures tall and thin, gliding without touching the ground. They seemed curious, not hostile. Ethan paused and nodded as if greeting them politely. The figures watched him for a moment, then drifted away, fading into the glowing walls. Ethan smiled faintly. He had survived long enough to know that respect often worked better than force. The farther he went, the stranger the hollow became. The steps disappeared, replaced by smooth, crystal-like floors. Light shifted in colors he had never seen before, soft blues blending into green, then golden flashes dancing along the walls. Ethereal sounds echoed around him. Sometimes they were like whispers, sometimes like music. Ethan could not understand the language, but he understood the feeling. It was a test, yes, but also a challenge to see if he could remain calm when the world itself seemed alive. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time felt different here. He could not be sure. He stopped near a wall of crystal that seemed to breathe with light. Ethan reached out, placing his hand gently on the surface. It was warm, not threatening. He felt a shiver run up his arm. He whispered almost to himself, "I don't want to fight. I just want to live." The light on the wall brightened. A voice spoke, not in words but in feelings, in memories brushing against his mind. Ethan felt the hollow centuries of watching, testing, punishing. He felt echoes of countless lives crushed by fear or arrogance. And yet it did not threaten him. It waited. It wanted to know him. He realized then that surviving the hollow was not about strength. It was about understanding, about patience, about seeing the living world around him without trying to control it. He moved again, slowly, letting the hollow guide him. He found chambers filled with illusions, creatures that seemed real, doors that led nowhere, stairways that twisted back on themselves. Most humans would have panicked. Most would have run, fighting phantom monsters or breaking walls to escape. Ethan did none of that. He observed. He listened. He spoke quietly to the illusions. Sometimes a beast paused, tilted its head as if curious, and vanished. Sometimes a door opened slowly, revealing a path forward. Ethan understood something important. This place tested fear. If you gave in, it would crush you. If you respected it, it might let you pass. In one chamber, he saw a mirror-like surface stretching from floor to ceiling. In it, he saw not only his reflection but flashes of his past. Moments of failure, moments of courage, moments of loneliness. Ethan did not flinch. He studied each image. He whispered to himself, "I am not perfect. I will fail, but I keep moving." The mirror shimmered, then softened. The path ahead opened. Ethan felt a sense of calm. The hollow was acknowledging him. He was learning its language, and it was learning his. After what felt like days of walking through corridors that shifted and glowed, Ethan reached a chamber unlike the others. It was enormous, open to the sky above. Crystals floated midair, spinning slowly. The ground was smooth, reflecting the lights above like water. In the center stood a pedestal, carved from crystal so pure it seemed to shine from within. Ethan approached it carefully. He did not touch it, only studied it. He felt the presence of something powerful, ancient, and aware. A voice spoke again in his mind, not angry, not commanding, but curious. Ethan understood it as clearly as if someone had said it aloud. "Why are you here, human?" Ethan considered. He did not lie. He said quietly, "I was brought here. I have nowhere else to go. I want to survive. I want to understand. I will not harm what does not harm me." The voice was silent for a long time. Then the light pulsed around the pedestal, and a crystal door slowly opened at the far end of the chamber. Ethan understood without thinking that this was the next step. He walked forward, careful with every footstep. The hollow seemed to breathe around him, the walls expanding and contracting in rhythm with his own pulse. As he moved, Ethan heard the soft sound of voices. Not in his mind this time, but outside, echoing faintly from the opening he had just passed through. They were aliens, but not the same ones he had met before. Taller, their forms elegant and alien, their skin glimmering with the colors of the hollow itself. They were observers watching his progress. Some whispered among themselves, some pointed, some shook their heads in disbelief. "He is old," one whispered. "He should not survive." He knew that fear made creatures predictable. Respect and understanding made them pause. He finally reached a chamber where the ceiling opened to the night sky. The stars of Sereth were unfamiliar, large, slow-moving, shifting colors that made Ethan feel small and alive at the same time. In the center of the chamber was a pool of liquid crystal. Its surface shimmered like glass, reflecting not just the stars but images of countless beings who had entered the hollow before him. Ethan approached carefully, kneeling to study it. He could see the fear in their eyes, the arrogance, the mistakes. The hollow showed him their truths, but not to punish, only to teach. He touched the surface gently. Ripples spread across the liquid, reflecting the light in waves. A feeling washed over him, hope, not just for himself but for all the beings trapped by fear and expectation. Ethan realized then that surviving this hollow meant more than passing a test. It meant showing the universe that a human could meet danger without submission, that understanding was stronger than power. As he rose, a figure appeared above the pool. Taller than the other observers, more regal. Ethan could not see the face clearly, only the glowing outlines and the presence of authority. The hollow itself seemed to hum in respect, bending light and air toward this figure. Ethan sensed immediately that this was no ordinary being. It was connected to the hollow, to the ancient wisdom of Sereth itself. The figure spoke, not with words but with feeling. Ethan felt the message. You walk without fear. You speak without arrogance. Many have failed, even those who were stronger. Why do you endure? Ethan swallowed and answered honestly. Because I have lived. Because I have made mistakes and learned. Because I will not give up. And because I will respect this place, not fight it. The figure considered him. Ethan could feel time slow. Light shifted, pulsing slowly, warmly. A bridge of crystal extended from the pool to the far side of the chamber. Ethan understood. The hollow had accepted him. He had passed the test not by defeating it but by listening and walking humbly. As he crossed the bridge, he felt something shift inside him. Strength, not physical but a deep confidence. The hollow was alive, but it recognized life in him too. It had given him a chance and he would not waste it. At the far side of the chamber, Ethan found himself in a new corridor, one that led upward. The walls glimmered with symbols he had never seen before, flowing like water. He touched them, feeling energy and awareness, and whispered, I understand only a little, but I will learn. He climbed slowly, the hollow opening for him, guiding him upward. Other observers watched silently. Some nodded, some frowned, but none approached. The hollow was his teacher now. Finally, after what felt like endless steps, Ethan reached the top of a crystal staircase that opened into the air. He stopped and looked around. The view took his breath away. Below, the entire hollow stretched in vast beauty, alive with pulsing light and movement. Above, the sky of Sereth shimmered, and in the distance, the citadel of the alien queen rose high, its spires reflecting the colors of the hollow. Ethan felt a mix of awe and determination. He had survived the trial hollow. He had walked without fear, listened without judgment, and respected what others had only fought. Then he heard a soft voice behind him, not alien, not mechanical, but human enough that it made his chest tighten. You are older than I expected, it said. Ethan turned slowly. A figure stepped from the light, another observer, but different. The way it moved, the way it spoke, there was authority and power. Ethan could sense it belonged to someone very important, someone who might decide the fate of the entire citadel. And yet, the figure continued, you have endured where many stronger than you have failed. Who are you, human? Ethan straightened. He smiled faintly. I am Ethan Cole, just a human, and if you will allow, I hope to learn more. The figure paused. For a long moment, no words, only presence. Then it spoke with a soft whisper that echoed like a promise. The Queen will know of you soon. Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of the hollow's lessons settling in his mind. He had passed the first part of the test. He had survived. He had walked among ancient forces without breaking. Now, the real challenge would begin, facing the Queen herself. But for the first time, Ethan felt something he had not felt in decades. That maybe, just maybe, he could change the fate of more than himself on this strange, violet world. Ethan Cole had survived the trial hollow, but the hollow itself whispered in his mind that survival was only the beginning. He stepped carefully down the final crystal stair, feeling the warm light wrap around him like a cloak. The air was filled with a soft hum, the echo of centuries of beings who had come before, some broken, some humbled. Ethan did not fear. He had learned how to move in a world that lived and breathed around him. He had learned to listen, to watch, to respect. As he emerged into the open courtyard of the citadel, his breath caught. The alien queen's palace stretched higher than anything he had ever seen. Spires of polished crystal reflected the violet sky in every direction, shimmering like frozen rivers of light. The courtyard was alive with movement, though no one approached him yet. Watchers, guards, and servants moved silently, their eyes always on him, curious and wary. Ethan understood their caution. On Seraph, no stranger had ever reached this place and lived to speak of it. The figure that had spoken to him in the hollow appeared again, stepping into the open. Tall and elegant, skin glowing faintly in shifting colors, the being's presence carried authority without words. Ethan studied him carefully, noting that this was no ordinary guard. He bowed slightly, as humans did when greeting someone of importance, even though the gesture had no meaning here. It was respect, and respect mattered more than strength in this place. "You have come far," the figure said softly, and Ethan felt the words in his mind as if the air itself carried them. "Many fail before reaching the queen, many die trying." "I am still here," Ethan replied simply, "and I intend to keep being here." The figure's head tilted. A soft, almost curious sound echoed through the courtyard. "You are not afraid," he said. "You do not fight unnecessarily." "Why?" Ethan shrugged. "Because fighting changes nothing. Surviving changes everything. Learning changes everything." The figure studied him for a long moment, then gestured toward a towering door carved from crystal. It was massive, far taller than any human, and etched with flowing symbols that seemed to shift when you looked directly at them. "Enter," the figure said. "The queen wishes to see you." Ethan took a slow breath. He had prepared himself for this moment in the hollow. He knew that the queen would not be an ordinary being, not in age, not in power, not in mind. He nodded once, then walked forward. The crowd parted silently, giving him space. Whispers followed him, alien words he could not understand. Some sounded fearful, others curious, some angry. Ethan ignored them. He had survived worse than whispers. As he entered the throne room, he saw her, the alien queen Zalara. She sat upon a throne carved from crystal, glowing faintly with soft light. Her form was massive, elegant, and ancient. Her skin reflected the colors of the citadel itself, shifting in gentle waves of violet, gold, and silver. Her eyes were dark and deep, like pools that had seen centuries pass. She did not rise. She did not move. She simply watched him. Ethan felt a strange mixture of awe and calm. He had faced creatures that could crush him in seconds, but the queen was different. She was not only strength, she was history, wisdom, and power rolled into one living being. He bowed his head slightly. "I am Ethan Cole," he said. "I come in peace." The queen's voice was not loud, yet it filled the room, echoing softly in his mind. "You are not like the others," she said. "You have walked the hollow without fear. You have listened without arrogance. You have survived where many stronger than you have fallen. Tell me, human, why?" Ethan considered carefully. Words mattered here. He chose slowly. "Because I am not perfect. Because I have made mistakes. Because I do not believe that strength alone can shape the world. I survive, I learn, and I respect. That is all I can do." For a long moment the queen did not speak. She watched him closely, her eyes sharp and searching. Ethan felt her studying every line on his face, every scar, every move of his body. He did not flinch. He had spent decades learning to survive scrutiny, and he would not fail now. Finally, she spoke again. "You are old," she said, almost as if noting the fact for the first time. "Older than most humans we have encountered. Your body is worn, your species would have abandoned you by now, yet your spirit endures. Why?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Because age does not matter. Life does, experience matters, wisdom matters. And humans, we endure, even when the odds are impossible." The queen tilted her head, her eyes narrowing slightly. "You speak boldly," she said. "Many of my people would call you foolish. Yet you are alive. Your courage is strange, even admirable. Perhaps there is more in you than any human I have seen. Ethan nodded. I do not claim greatness, only that I do what I must. She studied him longer, then let out a soft sound like a sigh. It carried weight, the weight of centuries. Ethan felt it ripple through the room. I am old, she whispered, and Ethan realized she was speaking more to herself than to him. Too old for what I have long desired, and yet there is one who could follow what I cannot. My daughter, Lyra, she still has hope. She still believes the world can change. Ethan's heart skipped. He had expected a test, a challenge, perhaps even hostility. He had not expected this. Your daughter? He asked carefully. What do you mean? The queen's eyes softened, and for a moment she seemed almost human. I cannot walk the path you may offer. Age and duty have trapped me, but my daughter, she is young, she is strong, and she will choose her own path. I offer her freedom of choice and perhaps a human companion, one who understands courage, patience, and respect. Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. The queen was not offering command or order. She was offering choice, trust, and hope. He realized then that his journey was not only about surviving the hollow. It was about proving that humans could walk among the greatest beings in the galaxy without arrogance, without domination, and be trusted in return. The queen leaned forward slightly, her eyes locking with his. You have endured trials my people would expect you to fail. You have survived where wisdom alone would not suffice. You are not young, human, but perhaps you are the one my daughter needs to see. Ethan nodded, swallowing. I will do my best, he said simply, to respect her, to learn, and to help if she asks. The queen gave a faint smile. You are older than the stars themselves seem to judge, yet your spirit shines. I will speak to her. You will meet her soon. Remember, strength is not always measured in battle. Patience, courage, and understanding, these will be your greatest weapons here. Ethan bowed again, then stepped back, letting the queen observe him without distraction. He could feel the weight of her gaze, but it was not oppressive. It was assessing, curious, thoughtful. He had never faced such an ancient being before, and yet he felt no fear. After a long silence, the queen spoke again. Walk the citadel, learn, listen, and when the time is right, my daughter will meet you. You will have no advantage but your mind, your heart, and the endurance that brought you here. Many have failed without these. Do not fail her, human. Ethan nodded once more, feeling the gravity of her words settle over him. He had survived countless dangers, countless worlds, but now he faced a challenge unlike any other. It was not monsters or traps. It was trust, understanding, and choice. He would need to prove himself not by strength, but by the qualities that had kept him alive this far. As he turned to leave the throne room, he glimpsed the vast halls of the citadel. Flowing corridors of crystal stretched in every direction, inhabited by beings of all shapes and sizes. Some watched him openly. Some whispered quietly. Every movement seemed deliberate, measured, almost ceremonial. Ethan realized that the entire place was alive in its own way. The citadel itself seemed to test, to observe, to teach. He walked through the halls carefully, listening to the soft hum beneath the crystals. He saw scholars studying glowing symbols, warriors sparring silently with energy weapons that left no mark. Children, small, young aliens, ran laughing through corridors, chased by guardians who only smiled. The citadel was not just a palace or fortress. It was a living school, a place where life itself was molded, observed, and guided. Ethan paused in a quiet chamber, small and open to the sky, where light shifted in gentle waves. He knelt and touched the ground, feeling energy pulse through his fingers. The citadel had accepted him, acknowledged him, and yet he knew the queen's words were not mere ceremony. The real test was yet to come. He would meet her daughter, and whatever happened, he would need to prove that humans could walk with aliens not as conquerors, but as equals, with courage, understanding, and patience. The night came, stars shimmering above the citadel in impossible colors. Ethan looked up, breathing slowly. The Queen's words echoed in his mind. Strength is not always measured in battle. Patience, courage, and understanding, these will be your greatest weapons here. He nodded to himself. He had survived the Hollow, earned the Queen's attention, and now the next challenge awaited. The daughter who could change the future of an entire people if he proved himself worthy. And for the first time in many cycles, Ethan felt hope. Not just for survival, but for something greater. He was older than most expected. He was human, fragile, and limited, and yet the universe had given him a chance. He would not waste it. Ethan Cole had walked the halls of the alien citadel for days, learning without speaking much. He observed the creatures who lived here, watched their routines, and listened to the soft hum of the crystal walls that seemed alive. He had passed the Hollow, earned the Queen's notice, and survived the trials of the Citadel. Yet he knew that the most important part of his journey had not yet come. He was to meet Princess Lyra, the Queen's daughter, the one who carried the hope of an entire people. He had heard whispers from the citizens of the Citadel. Lyra was young, intelligent, and strong. She was curious, even daring, and unlike her mother, she had not yet hardened herself to the rigid expectations of the Citadel. Ethan did not know what to expect. He knew he could not rely on age nor experience alone. He would have to show who he truly was: patient, courageous, respectful, and human. The door to the princess's chambers opened slowly as Ethan approached. It was made of crystal that glimmered softly, reflecting the light in gentle waves. A voice called from within, not commanding, not threatening, but soft and curious. "Enter, human," it said. Ethan stepped forward carefully, his hands visible, his body relaxed. He bowed his head slightly, as he had learned respect mattered more than strength in this place. Inside, the chamber was simple compared to the grandeur of the throne room. Soft light flowed across the walls, and crystal furniture reflected faint colors. Standing in the center was Lyra. She was smaller than her mother, yet every movement she made radiated confidence. Her skin glimmered softly, her eyes were wide and dark, filled with curiosity and intelligence. She studied Ethan silently, her gaze direct, unflinching. "You are human," she said finally. Her voice was calm but firm. "Older than most of my people expected. Why are you here?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Because I was brought here, because I survived what many others could not. And because I hope to learn from you and your people, not conquer them." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "Most humans would call themselves conquerors or heroes or adventurers. You call yourself a learner." "Yes," Ethan replied simply. "I am not perfect. I have made mistakes. I will make more, but I try to understand, to respect, and to survive. That is all I can promise." Lyra tilted her head, studying him. Ethan did not flinch. He had faced the Hollow, illusions, fear, and judgment. A young princess's gaze was nothing compared to that. "You are different," she said after a long pause. "Humans are usually loud, quick to fight, or afraid. You are calm, respectful, yet I sense courage in you." Ethan nodded. "Courage is not about fighting. It is about standing when others fall, choosing when others panic, and protecting those who cannot protect themselves." Lyra's expression softened slightly, as if she understood more than her words could express. "And have you done this often?" she asked. "Enough to survive," Ethan said, "and enough to learn that trust matters more than strength." Lyra considered this. She stepped closer, circling him slowly, examining him without words. Ethan stood still, letting her move. He understood that she was testing him, assessing him as he had been assessed by the Hollow and the Queen. He did not move hastily, he did not speak unnecessarily. He waited, patient. "You do not fear me," she said quietly. "I have learned not to fear what I do not understand," Ethan replied. Lyra paused, a small smile appearing on her lips. "Then perhaps you are the first human worthy of my attention." Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. It was not pride, not relief, not fear. It was understanding. He had been seen for who he truly was, not judged for what he could not control. They spent hours talking in that chamber, learning from each other. Ethan asked questions about her life, about the Citadel, about the traditions and history of her people. He listened carefully as she answered, showing interest and respect. Lyra, in turn, asked about Earth, about humans, about his experiences and failures. Ethan spoke honestly, sharing lessons, mistakes, and moments of courage. He never boasted. He never demanded approval. He only spoke truth. Slowly, trust grew. It was quiet, subtle, but strong. Lyra began to share things she had never told anyone, her fears, her hopes, the burdens of being the queen's daughter. Ethan listened, nodding, offering small words of encouragement. He did not try to solve all her problems. He did not try to impress her. He simply listened. "You do not judge me," she said finally, her eyes bright. "You do not try to change me. You understand." Ethan smiled faintly. "I try. That is all anyone can do." The moment was interrupted by a sudden tremor. The walls of the citadel shook, faintly at first, then stronger. A distant roar echoed through the halls. Ethan stepped instinctively in front of Lyra, his hands raised in defense. She did not panic, but she tensed, ready to act. "What is happening?" she asked, her voice steady. Ethan listened carefully. He could feel vibrations through the crystal floors, sense movement through the air. "I do not know yet," he said, "but we will find out together." They ran to the open halls, moving quickly but cautiously. Outside, they saw the source. A group of alien raiders had infiltrated the outer citadel walls. They were aggressive, armed with strange weapons, moving in precise formation. Some of the citadel guards engaged them immediately, but the raiders' numbers were too great. Panic began to spread among the younger inhabitants. "We need to protect them," Ethan said, assessing the situation. Lyra nodded. "We cannot rely only on the guards. We must act." Ethan glanced at her, seeing determination and courage. She was young, yes, but she had the heart of a leader. Together, they moved through the crystal corridors, guiding frightened citizens to safety. Ethan directed humans and aliens alike, showing calm authority. Lyra assisted, using her speed and agility to secure vulnerable areas. At one point, a raider entered a corridor ahead of them. Ethan stepped forward, blocking the path, holding his knife in a defensive stance. The raider lunged, aggressive and fast. Ethan sidestepped, using the raider's own momentum to knock him off balance. The raider fell, stunned but alive. Ethan did not strike to kill. The goal was control, not destruction. Lyra watched, impressed. "You fight differently than humans I've heard of," she said quietly. "I do not fight to kill," Ethan replied. "I fight to protect, to survive, to control the situation. That is all humans like me can do here." They continued through the citadel, leading citizens to secure chambers and guiding the guards to strategic positions. Ethan's calm, deliberate movements inspired others. He spoke simply, gave clear directions, and never showed fear. Lyra followed his example, and the citizens began to trust her as a capable leader, not just a princess. After hours of struggle, the raiders were finally contained. The citadel suffered some damage, but no lives were lost, thanks to Ethan's guidance and Lyra's leadership. The queen arrived soon after, observing the scene silently, her presence commanding calm. She studied Ethan and Lyra carefully, her eyes lingering on the human who had survived her hollow and guided her people. "You have done well," the queen said softly, her voice carrying through the courtyard. "You have earned the respect of my daughter and my people." Ethan bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what was necessary to protect them." The queen nodded. "And that is exactly what I hoped for. Lyra will choose her companions carefully. Humans are strange, unpredictable, and yet you have shown patience, courage, and understanding. These are qualities she values more than strength." Lyra approached Ethan then, her eyes serious but bright. "You are older than I imagined," she said. "And yet you have kept calm when others panicked. You have guided, protected, and listened. That is more than I expected of anyone here human. Ethan smiled faintly. I have learned that fear and panic solve nothing. Patience and courage guide everything. She nodded, a small smile appearing. Then perhaps you are more human than I expected. Ethan's chest tightened slightly. He felt a deep respect for her and an unusual connection, one built on trust, courage, and shared purpose. He realized then that the Queen had been right. She could not walk the path herself, but Lyra had chosen someone she could trust. The night fell over the citadel, and the stars of Sereth glimmered in the sky. Ethan and Lyra stood together on a balcony, overlooking the citadel and the glowing valley below. The citizens moved safely in the halls, guided by guards and leaders who had learned to follow example rather than command. Ethan felt the weight of the trials he had endured, the hollow, the Queen's judgment, and now the responsibility to this young princess. "Thank you," Lyra said softly, "for guiding them, for staying calm, for being human in a way that matters." Ethan looked at her, his own eyes reflecting the soft light of the crystals. "I do not claim greatness," he said. "I only do what must be done." She nodded, a quiet understanding passing between them. The bond was subtle, silent, but real. It was not love yet. It was trust. It was respect. It was the beginning of something that could change not only the citadel, but perhaps the entire future of Sereth. And for the first time in a long while, Ethan felt hope, not only for himself but for the people around him, and for the young princess who had chosen to see him not as a stranger, not as a human outsider, but as a companion, an ally, and a protector. The trials were not over. Danger still lingered in the galaxy, in the hearts of those who would oppose peace and understanding. But for now, Ethan Cole had proven that humans could walk among the stars without fear, without arrogance, and with courage and patience enough to earn the trust of an alien queen's daughter. Ethan Cole had walked the halls of the Citadel many times now. He knew its rhythms, its patterns, and its living presence. He had met the Queen, survived the Hollow, and earned the trust of Princess Lyra. Yet he knew that survival and trust were not enough to shape the future. The Citadel still faced danger. The galaxy still carried threats that could undo everything. He had learned that courage and patience were his strongest weapons, but now it was time to put them to the test. The morning began quietly. Light flowed across the crystal walls, soft and shifting, painting the corridors with pale blues and gentle gold. Ethan walked alongside Lyra, guiding her through the halls where citizens and young warriors trained. She had grown confident, steady, and wise beyond her years. Her trust in him had not wavered. She asked questions, observed carefully, and learned quickly. Together, they moved like two leaders who understood that strength was not measured in battle alone. A sudden alarm broke the calm. Crimson light flashed through the corridors, and the soft hum of the citadel shifted into a sharp vibration. Ethan stopped instantly. Lyra mirrored him, alert. They could hear the distant roar of engines and the sound of crystal walls vibrating from impact. The raiders had returned, larger and more organized than before. Their weapons glowed with a strange energy that could tear through crystal and flesh alike. Citizens screamed, scattering in fear. "We cannot rely only on the guards," Ethan said quickly, scanning the situation. "We must lead or the citadel will fall." Lyra nodded, her eyes bright and determined. "Then we act together, show them how to survive, how to fight without chaos." They ran through the citadel, directing citizens to safe chambers, guiding guards to strategic points, and observing the raiders' movements. Ethan's mind worked quickly, calculating, predicting, adjusting. He shouted simple, clear instructions. "Stay low, block the exits. Use the walls for cover." His calm authority spread through the panic. Lyra followed his guidance, moving swiftly, her body strong and agile, protecting the young and inexperienced. Together, they formed a moving center of control, a focus point amid chaos. A raider charged toward a group of young apprentices. Ethan grabbed a metal shard from the broken wall and used it to push the raider off balance, just enough to slow him. Lyra took another raider down by leaping over a low wall and hitting him in the chest with precise force. Neither killed unnecessarily, both protected life above all. Citizens began to follow their example. Humans fight strangely, Lyra whispered to Ethan as they moved past another group of raiders. They do not always strike first. They do not always kill, yet they win. Ethan nodded, because courage is not about killing. It is about protecting and surviving. Fear makes enemies, patience makes allies. The battle raged for hours. The raiders used new tactics, trying to trap citizens, cutting off exits. Ethan observed, adapted, and guided. Lyra followed his lead, inspiring confidence. Together, they became more than leaders. They became a symbol of hope. Citizens who had feared for their lives now fought strategically, followed directions, and defended the citadel without panic. Finally, Ethan and Lyra found the raider commander at the heart of the citadel. He was massive, heavily armored, his weapon pulsing with dangerous energy. Surrounding him were the strongest raiders, ready to crush anyone who approached. Ethan took a deep breath. There was no panic, only focus. He turned to Lyra. "Stay close," he said. "We will do this together." Lyra nodded, her eyes firm. She knew he was right. Strength alone would not win. Strategy, patience, and courage would. They approached the commander carefully. The raider's eyes glowed with hostility. He charged at Ethan first, expecting a human to flee or attack recklessly. Ethan sidestepped, using the raider's momentum to push him into a wall. The commander stumbled but recovered instantly, swinging his weapon. Ethan ducked under the strike, rolling across the floor, and used a shard of crystal to block another blow. Lyra moved with precision. She leaped, dodged, and struck at weak points without overextending herself. Together, they forced the commander backward, creating openings for the citadel guards to act. Their teamwork was seamless. Ethan's calm patience and Lyra's agility complemented each other perfectly. Finally, Ethan saw the opportunity. He grabbed a control crystal embedded in the floor nearby, activating it to release a pulse that temporarily disabled the raiders' energy weapons. The commander stumbled, furious. Ethan and Lyra advanced quickly, disarming him without killing. The remaining raiders paused, unsure what to do. Ethan raised his hand, speaking clearly and loudly. "Leave now and no more will be harmed. Continue this attack and you will face the full strength of the citadel and its defenders." The raiders hesitated, then slowly retreated. Ethan and Lyra watched them leave, ensuring every exit was secure. Finally, silence fell over the citadel, broken only by the soft hum of the crystal walls. Citizens emerged from hiding, relieved and grateful. Guards stood at attention, their eyes filled with respect for the human and the princess who had led them to safety. The queen appeared then, silent as always. She observed Ethan and Lyra, her expression unreadable. Ethan bowed slightly, exhausted but steady. Lyra stood beside him, proud and confident. The queen approached slowly, her presence commanding immediate attention. "You have done well," she said softly. "Many have failed against even a fraction of this threat. You human and my daughter have shown courage, patience, and wisdom beyond your years and experience." Ethan bowed again. "Thank you, Your Majesty. We only did what was necessary to protect your people." The queen's eyes softened. "And that is exactly what I hoped for. Humans are strange, unpredictable, yet you have proven that your qualities are worthy of trust and respect. Lyra, you have chosen a companion who can walk beside you not for power, but for guidance and understanding." Lyra smiled at Ethan. "He has taught me, guided me, and proven himself in ways no one expected. He is not just a human, he is someone I trust completely." Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had survived countless dangers, faced ancient tests, and now stood as a trusted ally to a young alien princess. He realized that the queen had been right. Strength alone could not shape the future. Understanding, courage, and patience could. The queen watched silently, then gestured toward the citadel. The halls you see, the citizens you have protected, they are no longer bound by fear alone. They will learn from your example, human, and from Lyra's wisdom. Together, you will shape a future that no one else could imagine. Ethan and Lyra looked at each other, understanding the weight of her words. They had survived not only battle, but judgment, fear, and expectation. They had proven that humans and aliens could work together, not through domination or command, but through respect, trust, and shared courage. Days passed, and the citadel changed. Ethan helped Lyra establish councils where citizens could voice concerns and suggestions. Young warriors trained under his guidance, learning that patience and strategy were as important as strength. The citadel became a place of learning, not fear. The hollow, once a symbol of judgment and terror, was now a place where citizens could understand courage and patience, guided by Ethan's example. The queen observed quietly, satisfied. She had seen countless generations fail to change her people. Now she saw hope. Lyra was ready to lead, and she had a companion who understood the true strength of humans. Ethan had earned a place among them, not through conquest, but through courage, wisdom, and respect. One evening, as the violet sun set over the citadel, Ethan and Lyra stood on a balcony overlooking the glowing valley below. The air was calm, the citizens moving safely in the halls, no longer driven by fear, but by purpose and understanding. "You have changed this place," Lyra said softly. "More than anyone could imagine. Your courage and patience, they have given us hope." Ethan smiled faintly. "I only showed what humans can do. Your people had the courage too. I just helped them see it." Lyra looked at him, eyes bright. "Perhaps humans are stronger than we believed, not in power but in spirit, not in force but in courage, patience, and understanding." Ethan nodded. "That is what survival teaches, not just to live but to guide, to protect, and to endure." The queen appeared beside them, silent, watching the valley. "The galaxy will notice," she said softly. "Humans are unpredictable, yes, but their qualities, they can change worlds. You have proven it, human, and you have shown my daughter what leadership truly means." Ethan bowed slightly, humbled. "Thank you, your majesty. It is all I can do." The queen smiled faintly, a rare gesture. "Then rest, human. Your journey here is not yet over, but the first step, the most important step, has been made. The citadel, the hollow, and my daughter all have learned from you, and that is enough to shape a future worth seeing." As night fell over the citadel, Ethan felt a sense of peace he had not known for decades. He had survived countless dangers, faced judgment and fear, and proved that humans could walk among the stars without arrogance or domination. He had earned trust, guided a young alien princess, and changed the citadel forever. Lyra stood beside him, a quiet smile on her lips. "We will face the future together," she said. Ethan nodded. "Together," he replied. And for the first time he felt that being human meant more than survival. It meant courage, patience, understanding, and the ability to change not just one world but the hearts of many. The stars of Sereth shimmered in the sky above, reflecting the hope, trust, and courage of a human who had dared to endure. The galaxy had learned a new truth. Humans could walk among the stars, not as conquerors but as guides, allies, and companions. And so Ethan Cole, older than most expected, and Princess Lyra, young and full of hope, began the next chapter, not just for themselves but for the citadel, the queen, and the galaxy beyond. The citadel, once a place of fear, had become a place of learning. The hollow, once a test of strength and judgment, had become a lesson in patience, courage, and understanding. And humanity, through one man, had left its mark not with force, but with spirit.